What's up, folks, and welcome to Indie Ramble. So, I got a precision platformer for you this time, and this one's a little bit different. It's been out for a little bit now, and it has really flown under the radar for most people, but it's kind of cool, and this is a genre that's normally not for me because I just don't have the patience to get good at it. But this one is hard, but not like, say, Super Meat Boy hard or a traditional torture platformer hard. So this is Voltorometer Recharged Plus, and it is pitched as a remake of the Flash game you've never heard of. And sorry, I never did hear of it, to be honest with you, before. But it's pretty cool, and it's got some interesting stuff going on in terms of the way the dev has chosen to pace it out and whatnot. So I'm going to show you what we got going on here. So you're this little weird electric character, as you can see, and you have a number of different worlds to get through. So there are 6 base worlds in this, plus there's also secret worlds, and there are extra hard modes in this, and sort of all the things that you would want out of a really difficult precision platformer like this if you want. It's easier to start out, but you can make it absolutely torturous if you want in that proper precision platformer kind of way. And it is all about platforming. Despite the fact that you're like an electric character, you don't attack anything. There's no traditional enemies, there's no bosses, there's no anything like that. Everything is a hazard. It's all about getting through the environment. And I mean, that's really the core concept of it. It's very simple. You got to run and jump your way through the environment here, and along the way you want to try to get as many of these yellow orbs as you can. You don't have to get them all to complete a level, but if you do, you will get an award, which I've already got here. So that's the first of those yellow dots there. And every level has 2 objectives that you can aim to get. So there's for 100%ing all of the I'll call them orbs, for 100%ing all of the orbs, and on some of the levels, getting every orb is quite tricky. You've actually got to really pay attention and sometimes even figure out some secret routes to them. And the second objective is to basically to beat the par time. So to, get through the level as fast as possible, which will most often always be at odds with collecting the orbs. So this is gonna, if you want 100% this, you're gonna have to run the levels multiple times. And there are also, I don't know the conditions for getting the secret levels, but, much like Meat Boy, much like other games like that, the secret levels are a pretty common thing for people who really want to dig in and really want to figure it out. Now, what's interesting about this, however, is that the way the game saves progress is that it only saves per world. So what that means is that if you are partway through a world and you decide to bail out without actually completing the world, you have to do the whole world over again. When that happened, when I first started playing this, I actually emailed the dev and was like, is that what you meant to have happen? Ah, crap. I was like, is that what you meant to have happen? Or is there a way to save mid-level that I just don't know about? And he was like, no, that's actually the way I intended it. The levels, none of the levels are particularly long in and of themselves, especially if you do a good, if you're really skilled and are able to get through the levels quickly, you won't have much trouble doing them in, under a minute in almost all cases. But if you it will take potentially many runs to get through a particular level before you master it. And in that situation, yeah, you might have to be prepared to dig in and spend some actual time getting through a world. Personally, on the default difficulty, I have not had to spend super long on any one world to be able to get through it. I've done all except the last one at this point, and there were a couple of levels, actually, less entire worlds and more levels in particular, that I had to really spend a lot of time and trouble on. But it was usually only very specific ones, and it usually didn't take that long to figure out what I had to do. And to at least be able to do a good enough run to get to the end. I may not have gotten any medals for it, but, I did at least get to the end, right? So, yeah, so it's a different, interesting way to pick it. So you see here, if you go back to Return to World Select, so all of that progress I would have lost if, I hadn't beaten this world before. So you can see there's a secret level here that I haven't found yet. It records all your times that you can beat through it. There's no online leaderboards or anything like that in this game, which is not unusual for a game like this. Would it have been cool? Sure, but... And as you can see, each level here has a different theme to it, which comprises its environmental hazards. So you got your power plug plant, which is where you start. You got your lava, you got your sand and wind, you got your water, you got your snow and ice, and you've got your acid, which is the one that I'm presently on, and that is a real bugger, I'll tell you what. But in spite of the fact that getting to the end of one run in this game might not take very long, and it might seem rather short, aside from the fact that this game isn't super expensive, there is a lot of replayability to it, which is that there are hard levels. There are all the objectives to 100% if you want. There's achievements tied to all of that, of course. There's multiple different difficulty modes. There's a mode for beating the whole. It's basically an Iron Man mode for beating the entire thing without dying, which is insane. I will say right now that as I record this, which is around a month or so after the game came out, there are a couple of those high-end achievements for some of the hard modes and stuff that have literally 0% unlocks on Steam. So, you want to be one of those people who gets one of the who likes to brag that you have one of the rarest achievements on the Steam platform. Well, there's your chance. You have options. If you want to really dig into this, you could do that. And that's the thing, right? Precision platformers like this have never really been for me, not because I don't like them or because I don't think they're good. They require a level of patience and persistence that I don't tend to have. I have ADHD. I tend to run out of patience for some things fairly quickly. And in addition to that, I just like too many different games, and I don't really have the time to put into a game to get that level of good at it. But there is a very strong community for these types of games, and a community that frankly blows my damn mind every time I see what they're able to pull off. And that's exactly who this is made for. This is not made for casual players. It's made for people who like the pain of precision platformers and who really, want to spend the time and want to keep running things over and over again to get those better times, to get those better runs, to get through the hardest levels, and just to get good, And that is absolutely who this game is made for, and it caters to them well. And yeah, I have been enjoying it. I am going to finish the last world. Will I go for the hard difficulties? Probably not. But it's fun. The controls are responsive. It's got this cool NES vibe to it. Definitely got that NES music. And the graphics in this are NES adjacent, I would say. An NES doing everything as smoothly as this one does might not be 100% possible, but it definitely does the 8-bit vibe very well, I think. And yeah, if this was a Flash game, I could see why this would have been appealing. Though apparently he said it's the Flash game you never heard of, so I guess it wasn't that popular. But I could certainly see why this is popular. And I mean, some of the best precision platformers and torture platformers that are out there started as Flash games. That's how the Meat Boy devs got started. And that's kind of where this genre originally cut its teeth before it managed to find success in the wider gaming sphere. And so this clearly has roots in the old school. So and I think that's really cool. I applaud it for that. And I do think he made this accessible enough. It's hard. Don't get me wrong. It's very hard. It's very challenging. But I think he made it accessible enough that it's not going to, people who look at some of the much more hardcore precision platformers out there and just go, that's not for me. I can't handle that. I think might be able to handle this. At least on the normal difficulty, this is not... this is hard, but it rewards practice, but not days and days and days of it to get through some of the later levels, right? Even though it looks like I'm not doing super well here. I mean, I've already beaten this. And as you continue to work at this, right, and as you continue to work at a level, you will find each run just gets a little bit better, and you can sort of just go go from run to run, and if you fail out, you get right back on the horse and off you go, right? And that's what I really like, is it makes it really easy. The only thing I wish this did have, which would make it just that little bit easier, is a quick restart button. Right now, the game doesn't have that. If you've realized that your run hasn't gone the way you wanted and you want to start the level over again, you've got to, if you can, in a level like this, you can fall off and insta-die, but there are other levels where you can't fall off, and you'll have to like try to find an enemy to hurt you or something like that. Yes, this is the level where you got to turn the light on to scare away the bats. You know, a quick resume button or a quick restart button where you can just go, you know, I screwed this up, click, and you're right back at the beginning would be ideal. I would think that wouldn't be very hard to implement, so if the dev is watching, that would be a really nice little feature for, you know, a point update. I think that would be really, really nice. Somebody like me would certainly appreciate that, just to make things, you know, a little bit speedier. I think would be nice. But other than that, this has been good. And yeah, at time of recording, this game has 3 reviews on Steam. So really, it's a Flash game you've never heard of. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like many people have heard of this one either. But it's good. It's well made, and it clearly knows what it's aiming to be and checks all the right boxes in order to be that. You know, this is not... this is an attempt at a precision platformer, but it's not just trying to ape the genre and make a cheap cash-in of it. This is made by someone who understands what makes these games good and has struck an interesting balance of making this, you know, still hard, and especially for the people who want the really hardest of the hard type of game design, but also for those who are maybe just getting into it and, you know... It doesn't handhold you. It's not easy by any means, but it's easy enough that it makes this a good entry point for the genre. It makes it a good, potentially a good one to start with to get familiar with it. It's a little bit more welcoming, I guess you'd say, than some of the other games in the genre are. And trust me, I wholly respect those other games. I don't think they're wrong for being as hard out of the gate as they are, but there is something to be said for giving people a little starting point too, and you know, this one does that while maintaining the spirit of it as well. So I recommend it. I've been enjoying it. I am going to finish the last world of this and see what I can do with it. Maybe I'll try out one of those hard levels. I feel like that's just asking for it, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, that is Voltorometer Recharged Plus. I think I'm saying that right. It's out now. It's cool, and it's you know, it's something that will challenge you, but also give you you know, give you the ability to have the satisfaction of beating a hard game without maybe having to beat your head against it as hard as you would some other ones, which is always nice. So thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate it. If you liked what you saw here, please do all the normal YouTube things. They do help the channel out a great deal. Leave a comment down below. Tell me, what do you think of this? Does this look, you know, are you someone who's not into this genre who thinks this might be a good starting point for you? Are there other precision platformers that you like that either for their difficulty or because of their accessibility? I'd always love to know about those as well. And as always, you can follow me over at twitch.tv/pxabstraction for multiple variety streams a week. I cover other indie games as well as retro stuff there, including a lot of games that are better suited to streaming than YouTube. We have a fantastic community there, and I would love to see you be a part of it. Thanks again, all, and I'll see you on the next Indie Ramble. You folks have yourselves a good one. Take her easy.